Hello Motorrad World fans, and welcome to another episode of Scoop or Poop. So now, this is basically just me thinking out loud after lying in bed, thinking about MotoGP and all the possible scenarios that can happen with some of the outcasts in MotoGP at the moment. Some of the riders that we kind of know won't be staying in their current teams or staying in their current positions and will be moving on, but where are they going? And I think the first or the best place to start is obviously with the big news that Suzuki have now confirmed that they are in discussions with Dorna to pull out of MotoGP due to the financial climate and just not being able to afford to go racing anymore. That's basically what it boils down to. And that leaves their two riders, apart from all the staff members and everyone who you've got to feel so sorry for. It really is a big decision by Suzuki that, you know, it's some people can understand, but there's a lot of flack out there for Suzuki, and I can kind of agree for just throwing this on. But if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. But yeah, are there other ways to look of getting out of it? You know, just find a big sponsor. Surely you've world champions from a couple of years ago with two of the hottest properties in MotoGP. Surely there must be other ways than just folding and giving up. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion there. But obviously now with them pulling out, that has pretty much orphaned their two top riders, Joan Mir, world champion from a couple of years ago, and Alex Rins. Let's start with Joan Mir. It looks like his best potential or possible move is to go to Repsol Honda. It looks like very likely that that's going to happen. I think it is really his best choice. Obviously, he will have attention and attraction from, you know, the Pramac Ducatis, the Gresini Ducatis, depending on what they want to do, factory Yamaha, depending on what they're going to do. We'll talk about that just now. But I think we will be seeing Mir in Repsol Honda colors for the next season. But that comes with a lot of baggage. Ask Paul Espargaro, ask Jorge Lorenzo, ask Alex Marquez, ask current man Marc Marquez. So how's he going to handle all that? You know, the pressure of being in that Repsol Honda seat, the pressure of handling this bike that's very inconsistent. Honda just haven't got that formula right over the last couple of years. With Marc Marquez being also so inconsistent, having him, not having him, they just haven't got that whole package together yet. So, you know, is Rins, well, I don't think he really has a choice but to go in there and try and make it work. The second scenario that comes with that is obviously being Marc Marquez's teammate. And history shows us that that's also a big thing to try and overcome. A lot of people, you know, haven't been able to deal with that. You're very much in the shadow of Marc Marquez when you go in that team, regardless who you are. Jorge Lorenzo went in there as a 5-time world champion, and okay, he didn't make it work, but he was very much Marc Marquez's teammate. When you go into Repsol Honda, you are Marc Marquez's teammate, even with his half an eye and half an arm or whatever. Marc Marquez is still Honda's blue-eyed boy. So how does Mir handle that? How does Repsol Honda handle that? How does Alberto Puig handle that? You know, it's always very hard to keep two very fast championship contenders happy in teams. We've seen it in the past, you know, with Rossi, Lorenzo. It comes with a lot of burden and a lot of headaches. So we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But I certainly think we will be seeing Joan Mir in Repsol Honda colors. As for his current Suzuki teammate, Alex Rins, where does he go? I mean, Pramac Ducati, potentially one. If Jorge Martin goes up to the factory Ducati team, Paolo Ciabatti came out and said they want to have the second factory Ducati seat finalized over the next couple of months. Will it be Enea Bastianini? Will it be Jorge Martin? Both showed great form early on, have kind of dipped with a couple of crashes lately, Martin more so than Bastianini, but things definitely seem to be changing there. Jack Miller looks to be out of the factory seat. We'll talk about him as one of the outcasts in a second, but Alex Rins, potentially a Pramac Ducati ride, potentially a, you know, RNF Yamaha ride in Dovi's place with that factory Yamaha contract, with a factory Yamaha bike within that team. If they stay Yamaha, if they go Aprilia, could Rins be their spearhead man in that team alongside Darren Binder with Aprilia satellite machinery? You know, we're going to have to wait and see. Alex Rins certainly belongs in MotoGP, we know that. But where does he go? Gresini Ducati looks like a good home. Bastianini's proving that, you know, it's a good team. They've made the right decision going with Ducati machinery. I think Rins would probably prefer to find himself on a Ducati, although the Aprilia looks like a good package in itself. So yeah, let's wait and see where Alex Rins heads up. Could he go to LCR Honda? that could be an option for him as well. Both those seats look like they're going to be up for grabs. Again, we'll talk about those outcasts just now. So Rins is still a big question mark where his future lies, whereas Mir, I think, is pretty sewn up. Speaking of Ducati with Jack Miller, as I said, Chibati's come out and said they want to finalize this definitely between Martin and Bastianini for that second factory Ducati seat. So without saying Miller's out officially, they kind of said he's out officially. So Jack Miller looks for a ride. So his possible scenarios are, there's been talk about that LCR Honda seat, which could see Alex Marquez outcast of that team. Another outcast we'll talk about. Could he fit in there? Maybe. The other option is the second Red Bull factory KTM ride alongside Brad Binder. Jack Miller's got history with KTM, obviously from Moto3 days. His manager is Aki Ayo. There's a tie-up there. He's sponsored by Red Bull. He has been for a long time. There's a tie-up there. So I could see that move happening with Jack Miller, but that all depends on if Miguel Oliveira leaves the team. Now, Miguel Oliveira will only leave the team if Fabio Quartararo doesn't re-sign for Yamaha. So a lot of these rides and positions and seats are also hindering on what does Fabio Quartararo do. If he leaves factory Yamaha, then there's that spot open. Does Miguel Oliveira go in there? I think so. If Quartararo goes factory Ducati, well, then what happens to Martin and Bastianini? Do they stay where they are? Just get that factory Ducati contract with factory bikes, which to me doesn't seem like a bad option. It doesn't come with that factory Ducati pressure that a lot of riders have struggled with over the years. So, like I said, a lot hangs in the balance depending on what Fabio Quartararo wants to do. I do think he will re-sign with Yamaha, that 2-year contract that everyone's talking about. I think Yamaha would be silly if they're not going to him with a blank check and saying, Fabio, we are nothing without you. We are seriously nothing without you. Here's a blank check, we'll turn our heads, write a number down, and off you go. Japs don't really like working like that, but I think in this case they're going to have to. Lynn Jarvis came out saying that Franco Morbidelli is not going anywhere. He will be the second factory seat rider. So that kind of got rid of the whole Oliveira going in there and him going down to RNF Yamaha. He says they are in talks with RNF to renew that deal with them, but they're also talking to VR46 in MotoGP to switch over to Yamahas, which, they've got the history with Rossi. Obviously, their VR46 camp is kind of through Yamaha. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But Miller to KTM, Miller to LCR Honda. Let's wait and see. Oliveira, as I said, his future is also a big question mark. Does he re-sign for KTM where he'll get a big salary? I'm sure, KTM, I think we're looking at other options at the beginning of the year, but, with Raul Fernandez, Remy not performing, Acosta showing that he's not really ready to move up yet, are they going to now look at Oliveira as an option? Does Oliveira want to stay with an inconsistent KTM at the moment that just can't seem to be getting it right with the Michelin tires or the WP suspension or whatever it is, but, there's an inconsistency there that they're just not getting right. So does he want to stay there? We'll have to wait and see. Then there's LCR Honda. Looks like there's going to be a big change up there with their 2 riders. Alex Marquez potentially out, Jack Miller potentially in there, Miguel Oliveira potentially on that seat as well. Taka Nakagami looks like his future is out there. Ayagura, especially after winning the Jerez MotoGP race, looking to potentially go into that MotoGP slot, falls right in. Japanese rider for Japanese rider, Idemitsu sponsor for Idemitsu sponsors, so that will work out well. That second seat, they spoke about Chantra also making the move up. I don't think Sofkit Chantra is ready for MotoGP yet. I would rather go with a Miller or a Alex Rins or a Miguel Oliveira for that seat, to be honest. Do they want to go to an LCR Honda who just also haven't been able to put it together and have had a torrid couple of years? Let's be honest. Nakagami's showed glimpses, hasn't quite been able to put it together. Alex Marquez has just been lost. Where does he go? What does the future hold for Alex Marquez? Does he try and go to a Cressini Ducati or one of those Ducatis? Could potentially to try and revive his career, climb on a Ducati. It seems to do well, for a lot of riders. So let's wait and see what he does. Can we see him go to World Superbikes? I think Alex Marquez, I know a lot of these riders kind of look down and frown upon World Superbikes, to be honest. So we'll have to wait and see what the future holds for Nakagami and Alex Marquez. At the moment, there's not enough seats for them. Looking at 2023, the 2 real big contenders coming up from Moto2 are Aaron Canet is looking very likely. He's shown some great form and pace this year on a Boscoscuro chassis on the Kalex chassis now, that showing great form on the Boscoscuro onto the Kalex now. So he's a big name coming from Moto2. And then there's talk of Vietti as well. Does Vietti fill in Dovi's spot in that RNF Yamaha? Lynn Jarvis has said they want to look at Vietti as a future plan. Does he fill in that RNF Yamaha spot if they re-sign with them to take Dovi's factory Yamaha ride? Let's wait and see. Does Darren Binder get the factory ride ahead of Vietti with that 1 year more experience? Does Vietti go into the VR46 Yamaha team instead of a Ducati team? But then where does that leave Marini? Has he done enough in the last couple of years in MotoGP to prove himself? He's also been a flash in the pan every now and then. But does Rossi boot his own half-brother? So, I mean, yeah, there's so many scenarios to play out here. Like I said, it's every night you kind of go to bed with all this going on in your mind. And that's why this is just speaking out loud on those. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in all those scenarios. And let's see, with the Suzuki, what happens with that team? Will it be a Leopard, Aprilia satellite team? There's 2 seats. Does Rins stay potentially in that same seat, just in a different team and on a different bike? Does Vietti go into that team? Does Oliveira move there? Does Alex Marquez or Nakagami go into one of those seats and bring money with him? Obviously, Alex Marquez has got the Marquez name. So we'll have to wait and see. There's so many things to play out with all the riders. Like I said, outcasts. Has Johan Zarco done enough to keep his Pramac ride? Where does he go? Does he move down to Crescini and Bastianini up into Pramac for Ducati to keep him happy? There is just so much to talk about with regards to MotoGP 2023. So I was kind of expecting the Quartararo deal to be signed ahead of the Le Mans Grand Prix this weekend. It's the Thursday before. Normally the deals get done there. We'll have to wait and see straight after the race maybe, or during the race weekend if that will be announced. I think it's a great place to announce it at his home GP, that the world champion will be staying with Yamaha, but no news really on that just yet. So another big question mark that's in the MotoGP paddock at the moment. So yeah, let's wait and see. Does Toprak Razgatlioglu? There's another big talking point. Not really an outcast, but Lynn Jarvis has said that he's going to be testing a bike very soon, June, I think, sometime. But there's no factory seat available for him. There is the RNF Yamaha Dovi spot, which is effectively a factory ride, a factory bike with a factory contract. But in the RNF team, that's if the RNF team stay with Yamaha and don't go Aprilia. Is Razlan just using that as scare tactics to get more out of Yamaha, to say, listen, we need more support because we're not getting it, and Aprilia will give us more. But is Toprak ready for MotoGP? Let's wait and see how that plays out. There's the Red Bull Monster conflict there. The same with Joan Mir. He's a Monster athlete at the moment. He goes to Repsol Honda. That's a Red Bull athlete then, but we've seen Lorenzo do that in the past, so I don't think there should be too much turmoil there. With Razgatlioglu, the problem is he's a team manager. Kenan Sefoglu has those ties. He literally owns Red Bull Turkey. So, how does that all play out? Is there going to be a spot for Toprak Razgatlioglu in MotoGP next year? I don't think so. Unless the test goes superbly well, I think Toprak will be really fast on a MotoGP bike. He's going to have to change his riding style a little bit, but I do think he will be fast. But is there going to be a spot for him? Another big question, another big scoop or poop that we're going to have to find out. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of me just literally everything I've been thinking of over the last couple of nights, just spewing it out there to you all on YouTube, Facebook, and all our social medias. And let's wait and see what happens over the Le Mans weekend. MotoGP just seems to be changing from race to race, from week to week. So let's see if any of those deals get signed. But as I said, the confirmation that Suzuki have come out and said they're definitely talking to Dorna about pulling out of MotoGP. That is the big talking point. And then where does that leave all these riders? Mir, Rins, Alex Marquez, Nakagami, Jack Miller, Miguel Oliveira, Toprak Razgatlioglu, Vietti, Canet. Where do they all go? Marini. Where do they all go? Aprilia, Yamaha, RNF, VR46. This is why we love MotoGP, people. This is why we love MotoGP.